YouTube! What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Rome 2. And I think yesterday I said that I had like the mother of all crap factions, which was the RDI, or RDA, however you want to pronounce it. I actually think it's Pergamon, in my opinion. And I've heard others agree, but we'll see. So I got matched up against the Arverni, and there's two things that I'm going to need in order to win this battle. One, a player who either one, makes a massive mispick of his army, or two, a player who simply misuses either the wrong picked army or a properly picked army. So that's the only way that I see Pergamon beating the Arverni, but Pergamon does have a few meager tools in its arsenal. Pikemen are one of them. That's, pikemen in this game, I call them a tool. They're kind of like that old tool that it very rarely works, but for whatever reason, you haven't thrown it out of the toolbox. I don't even know if that's a good comparison. I don't have any tools like that. Kind of shows you that, anyway, they're worthless for the most part. The only thing they're good at is for making people not YOLO charge straight into the front of you, which is why I've brought them. I have 2 Hippeus Lancers, 4 Archers. My General is in an Agema Spear. This unit really doesn't serve much purpose other than sometimes they die slowly if you put them in square. And dying slowly, I guess, is a skill. But yeah, and then I've got Galatian Swords as well. Let's turn the flags back on. So I've got 2 Thurio Spears and 2 Galatian Swords on either flank, and all the units I have are so cheap that I had a lot of money left over for upgrades, so I went ahead and just upgraded my Galatian Swords, hoping to get the most bang for the buck out of them. What I intend to do is bait and switch, keep my Thurio Spears out front, let them throw around the javelins, and then as the enemy swords charge them, I'll pull them backwards and charge with my own Galatian Swords. Hopefully the enemy would still be locked on to the Thurio Spears and give them a poor charge versus my Galatian Swords. And I'm also hoping to make my opponent split. If he splits his forces to go around my long pike line, I'm hoping to shoot his exposed swordsmen at that point and kill them. And then the Hippeus Lancers are kind of for one of a couple of things. If the enemy has a huge cav advantage, then I'm just going to keep them behind my lines and near the support of Thurio Spears. And if the enemy gives me the opportunity, I might try and use them more offensively in a hammer and anvil style strike. But the Gauls do have access to Heavy Horse, which is a potentially dangerous unit. My opponent makes like he's going to go hill camp here. I don't know that he was or even is, but I went ahead and sent this Hippeus Lancer up the hill in order to try and dissuade him from any further moves up into that forest on the hill, which would definitely not help me. Anyway, what we can see of his army so far, he's got quite a few. So I think he has 3 Oathsworn. I know there's 2 Heavy Horse, 2 Light Horse, and 1 Noble Horse. Yeah, there's the 3rd Oathsworn. Then he's got Celtic Warriors, Chosen Swordsmen, and Celtic Warriors. And he's got some spear units as well, Levy Freeman here. And I think he has similar stuff on the other flank. His army is not a very typical Arverni army. There's not near as much infantry here as I'm used to seeing. He has Heavy Horse riding through here. Light Horse he's already taken around the hill. He's, I think, trying to get me to make the first move with my Lancers and to make a poor move, which is quite possible, especially coming from me. So I'm just holding this position on the hill because neither of his cav units is going to do well taking a downhill charge from Hippeus Lancers. But if I downhill charge his light cav and his Heavy Horse were then to come in and reinforce, that would probably go poorly for my Hippeus Lancers. But my Thurio Spears are close enough now that they should be able to support that fight. So I should be okay. I'm just going to move up and face down the Arverni. I want to try and fire a few volleys of arrow fire to see if I can force him into moving. Certain units are easier to kill than others. These Celtic Warriors, for instance, would be a pretty easy target from the front for my archers. Whereas the Oathsworn and others that probably also have this cover, they would be a lot harder. These are Chosen Swordsmen, but the Oathsworn would pretty much be the same story. Harder to kill them when they're in the woods and from the front. I've got my pikes 3 lines deep. I don't like it because it doesn't look very Alexandrian, but I think it's kind of like the minimum depth that you can have and still actually hold people off effectively. You can spread them even thinner, but that's a risk. Pikes are a risk in general, though. So yeah, kind of a standoff with my opponent for a moment. I'm letting a few of my men rest up. They got a little bit winded from running across the map. And of course I ran over here to try and keep my opponent from getting on top of this hill. I don't know that that's what he was going to do, but I just wanted to try and cut off that option for him. It looks like my opponent's maybe thinking about splitting. He's starting to move some cav and some levy freemen out to this flank, so I'm going to push up and try and make him make his decision. And then over here, I noticed his Celtic light horse starting to crest up the hill, and I was like, well, dadgum, I really don't want to charge these guys. I'm going to have to. So I get a quick last-second counter charge, and his Celtic light horse will get destroyed really badly. And his heavy horse wasn't really close enough to play a role, but he is running a levy freeman up the hill, so I dispatch a Thurio spear to intercept it. And hopefully what will happen is I can kill the light horse and then downhill charge the levy freeman. Now, my micro is probably not going to be brilliant in this battle because I'm facing multiple directions at once, but my opponent turned his chosen swordsman back and these Oathsworn, and I managed to get quite a few kills with my archers. You can see the dead Arverni troops, and he is splitting. This is what I want. So now what I'm going to do, that my opponent's splitting, I'm going to try and get over here and gain some advantage while just falling back here in the center. So my opponent split, so I'll move back and hold here, so that he has to now run all this direction to engage me, whilst hopefully my forces here can get a couple of overwhelming charges. Now, exactly what I had wanted to happen did. I got his levy freeman and his Celtic horse, so great trade so far. 125 kills on my Hippeus Lancers. Still haven't paid for themselves, but, you know, it's a great start. And my opponent has now all of his sword units split, and again, I'm going to just fall back from him. I thought I was running, but I'm not. So I'm lucky. What my opponent should do here, he's got a Celtic light horse and a heavy horse. He should be harassing my infantry and making me turn around so that his swordsmen can catch up with me. But even if he does, I now have a good angle here where I can hit the side of his men with my archers, and it will be their unshielded side as well. So this is why I want my opponent to split. It's not necessarily an easy tactic, though, to win with this, even when it's played well, which we'll see whether or not I play it well. Really, a good player with Arverni in his hands will beat this type of tactic. Just takes time. So my Galatian swords get straight up charged by his Celtic warriors here. A huge mistake on my part. But I do go ahead and pull back from his Oathsworn and then replace it with these Galatian swords who are going to get a downhill charge into the Oathsworn. Probably technically into their flank here. So that'll be really nice for my Galatian swords. Not going to get a ton of kills. He pulls through me here, like he charged my Thurio spears and then got through to my archers, which is pretty dang annoying, and I wasn't paying attention, so I'm slow to react to it, and I'm going to get a unit of archers beaten up early, which is really bad. But my Hippeus Lancers here run a brilliant rear charge, and one of his Celtic warriors just went flying there, actually. Absolutely destroy the Celtic warriors, which puts these Hippeus Lancers now up to close to 200 kills. Though, they still haven't paid for themselves. A Celtic light horse, a Celtic warrior, and a levy freeman, still not quite the cost of a Hippeus Lancer. And I'm now being approached by a noble horse and Oathsworn general. So I see that his Oathsworn general is here as well. So I can't remember how I handle this situation. It looks like I'm taking my Hippeus back to the top of the hill. I'm going to try and charge his Oathsworn general. I charged his noble horse. I don't know if that was a mistake or not. Anyway, I chase his heavy horse off, finally get him out of my back lines. He routed one of my archers, but the other three remain intact, and he's yet to engage me on this other flank. So yeah, anyway, he does have light cav in the back, though, so I'm having to use my Agema spears and other units to try and protect my archers. And I haven't put my pikemen in phalanx yet, which he hasn't taken advantage of, though, to be honest, I was baiting him. I was hoping to bait a charge and then go into phalanx at the last second. So my Hippeus Lancers, I bring them up over the hill for a charge, and I'm going to just let them die here. I hate to do this, but they've gotten a lot of kills, and they'll be the most helpful for me by keeping this noble horse off my flank for the time being. And you can see here that my opponent gets lots of units into combat with these Galatian swords, and it's going to give me the opportunity to fire into the backs of his men, which is going to be very effective for my archers, killing some heavy horse and some chosen swords. Or no, sorry, that was my Thurio spears doing that. Gets a rear charge with his Celtic light horse. Not sure why he would want to do that, though. I finally go into pike phalanx just to make sure that my opponent's not going to be able to engage me. I really should have already pointed my pikes over this way, but again, I'm busy trying to counteract my opponent. Fortunately for me, I'm making a lot of bad moves, but at the moment my opponent's making more bad moves than I am, and it's really helping me out like this. He was chasing my archers, had an attack order, but it ran his guys into the front of my pikes. So this is a critical error right here, and it really plays into my hands. You can see that he was trying to get to these archers and just got caught up. And so I noticed it, and I'm going to move my archers back. But I keep playing my archers right here around these pikemen and then these Hippeus Lancers, because it's going to make it hard for my opponent to get at them with cav from either side. And I just need to keep the archers alive till the late game. Even if he kills all my infantry, If I can get rid of his cav, keep my archers alive to the late game, I have a chance. Again, my general is just going to be here for holding. Really hate to do this to him, but I'm just going to have to take him into square and let him absorb this charge. At least in square, hopefully he'll get the bracing bonus. Looks like he does. Melee defense bonus. So it'll take the Oathsworn and the Chosen Swords longer to kill him. And but we do have Oathsworn around. I'm not reacting quick enough with my pikes. My opponent, smart here, goes into the back of my pikes. And now I'm going to start maneuvering my pikes a little. I charge the heavy horse, then I'm going to break that charge off and hit the noble horse. Again, need to kill his cav units. The noble horse is a very tempting target for my Hippeus Lancers. His heavy horse is also dangerous to me, but I can handle it. Over here, look at my pikemen. Look at this. Like, we're going to circle around you and then point our pikes in the wrong direction, attack formation. So this is why earlier I said that if pikes were a tool, well, maybe a better comparison, if pikes are a tool, they're the rusty tool that you don't like to use unless you have to. So maybe that's a better way to describe it, because, I mean, look at these idiots. Nice pike formation. Now, the only good thing it does is it allows me to bring my Galatian swords through the pikes and into these units to let them get a few kills. And my archers are free now, too, and I'm going to start really peppering the enemy units. My general is holding out like a boss over here. Doing a really great job, actually. Like I said, the one tool that they have is they can die slowly. I am firing into their shielded flank, unfortunately, but flank shots nonetheless. He's going to charge my pikemen over here, who are also an idiot formation. So I'll try to reform them, though it looks like I'm going to be less than successful here. Yeah. Look at these idiotic formations. My guys aren't even in formation attack either, and they're still moving around like idiots. Pikes in this game are just, honestly, hopelessly broken. Got a nice rear charge here into the back of his Oathsworn that was up against the square. I needed it. My general was taking a lot of heat, and that's going to put some heat on these Oathsworn, and then also it's going to send this unit chasing my cav. Again, all this is good. Look at these pikes. What kind of moron pike formation is this? Somehow, though, I killed a few of his heavy horse. It is a really screwed up thing with pikes. They just don't work, and you have to babysit the crap out of them, which I'm not good enough to babysit the crap out of pikes. But I see this opportunity. His general had his back turned to my archers, and my archers are going to slay the Arverni general. And because of this slaying, it's going to really hurt the Arverni morale, even though he has 3 Oathsworn left on the field. Over here, my Galatian swords, actually, for whatever reason, these guys met with some serious success, 194 kills, probably against Celtic warriors or Levy Freeman. And then my Thurio spears in square were kind of just holding these chosen swords, who now get flanked by my Galatian swords. And some of these Galatian swords have, I wouldn't call it good, but they have decent attack and damage stats with the upgrades. My general is still alive. The enemy general just died. And then I'm also peppering these heavy horse. And my Hippeus Lancers now are unopposed. So they can cause a lot of damage at this point in the game, because they can just, you know, completely charge the crap. So now my opponent has to either watch out for the Hippeus Lancers, or he has to worry about my archers. And I don't know what he does, but whatever he does here, his guys look like they're having formation issues too. He goes into shield wall, but it's not going to matter. It's too late. His guys are getting peppered to death by archers, and then my Hippeus Lancers are coming back in like a circling shark to finish the job. And the Arverni are beaten. And again, like I said at the beginning of this, the only way that I'm going to beat an Arverni player with Pergamon is obviously if the player is at a lower skill level than me and then makes a bad army pick. And apparently in this case, my opponent did both. And so that's really the only thing that saved me. I'm not really a great online player. I'm kind of more of an amateur player. I just like playing the game for fun. And a lot of the tips I give you are kind of amateur tips, like just how to get on the game, have fun, and meet with moderate success. Not so much focused around tournaments and stuff. There's other channels that hit that bigger. But in any case, I think it's fun to bring these kind of factions and give yourself the challenge. Again, I don't like the army that my opponent brought here. 4 Oathsworn, actually, in the end. That was too many. Really, 2 Oathsworn is probably overkill versus Pergamon. Just bring the cheaper units, and you'll have more money left over. So there was really not a whole lot of sense to bring that many Oathsworn. And Celtic warriors, decent units. The Galatian swords would be okay at countering them. But, I mean, my opponent brings this noble horse, too, so he just brings too many elite units, and then it left him with too few units to help outflank me with. You can imagine that had he had a lot more infantry units and been really pushing on outflanking me, it would have gone poorly for me. This Hippeus Lancer doing fantastic. This one doing pretty good as well. My general getting 50 kills and holding off that long against Oathsworn totally filled his role. This Galatian sword, I don't know what in the world they did, but they went into complete beast mode and racked up 250 kills almost. But you can see my pikes, I did a poor job maneuvering them, so I didn't expect to see any kills. My archers, though, being extremely effective. These 3 units, I betrayed these guys to their death. But in any case, hope y'all enjoyed that. I'll bring on some more underdog factions, and it just kind of makes me wonder at this point, who is next? Who should we visit next? We've got Pergamon. We've covered many other underdog factions, like Suebi. Some of you have been telling me that Syracuse is actually really good. I don't believe it, but if you have some secret formula, and I had one person swear to me too that the Iceni were really good, which again, that's probably conditional. I think it depends on who you're playing and what faction you're playing against. Again, unless you got some mad skills, I don't, which I'm not saying you don't, because you might, and I don't have mad skills either. Someone was telling me Sparta was really good too. I don't think so. Again, maybe just in quick battles, they will do okay. But in a more competitive... when I say factions are worse than others, I'm talking about a competitive landscape as opposed to just like a let's go have fun and quick battle and team battle type of landscape. So I get what you're saying. Some of you saying I'm winning these games with these factions, but yeah, in any case, we'll figure out who's next. I'm not exactly sure. Epirus is kind of a... I wouldn't really call them an underdog faction, but they're not really good by way of some others. Oh, but we need to grab a step faction next time. That's what we need to do. How about Royal Scythia? They're pretty crummy. Well, I say pretty crummy. The Roxolani, in my opinion, are the most powerful step faction, just because they have melee cav that comes with Draco, and it's cheap. And then you've also got access to Amazonian and just mercenary Amazonians. I think it's Royal Scythia that gets access to the standard Amazonian riders. Yeah, so that's their tool. The Masegate really should have a really good tool in the sense that Saka Cataphracts, but the Saka Cataphracts were heavily nerfed a while back, and honestly just aren't as good as they should be. They need to give these guys their massive charge bonus back and let them rule the field in the majesty that they probably should. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing off for now. I'll see you soon.